Please welcome your moderator tonight, the Metrograph Journal's Kelly Weston, and the star of Magellan, Gael Garcia Bernal.
So thank you to everybody for sticking around for this, and thank you to Gael for coming to talk about this wonderful, incredible film. I think the layeredness of this dynamic has been pointed out. You know, you are a Mexican actor, you identify as mestizo, if that's correct.
I am.
And yeah, you are mestizo, and you're playing a Portuguese colonizer who's sponsored by Spain. And in a way, you know, you and Lav have this kind of parallel lineage, like you share in this kind of like colonial afterlife. But I'm curious about if that, you know, informs your performance at all, if that's something that you just kind of have to put aside, or if it's like part of the embodiment. I would love for you to like sort of talk us through, you know, developing this character. You have the script, you have biography, details, but I think, you know, there's like distance there. And I wonder about like, what is the process of embodying that or incarnating this character?
Yeah, I mean, it's in this film in particular, I mean, every film has its own journey, no?
That's the manager.
What do I answer? so the every film has its own journey, and in this case, all of these aspects that you mentioned, or this, let's say, let's call it like destiny, circumstances in a way, were actually things that quite excited me when I was called to play Magellan, because I was first surprised, you know, like, why me, you know? Why not a Portuguese actor, or why not or a Brazilian actor, you know? I'm wondering why would they call me, and meeting Lav and meeting Joaquim Sabino and Albert Serra, no? They were giving me the bits and pieces in very homeopathic rations, you know, like of why they wanted me to play this character, because casting is most of the time instinctive as well. It's not really objective, you know, and kind of like I don't know. It's very difficult to be rational about it, and actually, when you're very rational about it, it never works. It's very instinctive. It's very kind of a skin thing. I don't know. It's strange how it works. And I realized a couple of days after meeting them, I was actually really happy and excited, and found out that it was a great decision that they were casting me, because of course it had to be a mestizo to play this character, because Magellan, Hernán Cortés, Colón, Américo Vespucio, like so many of those explorers, conquerors, conquistadores, whatever we can call them, they were the first, let's say, the main, the pillars of the beginning of something new in the world that ended up being who we are, you know? And Latin America is the place that originated that mestizaje, a mixing of all bloods, no? And of all bloods from all over. I mean, in Mexico, it is very common to have Asian blood that came from the Philippines during the Manila and Acapulco era, because it didn't, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Mexico, I mean, New Spain, the Viceroyalty of New Spain, administrated the Philippines for 300 years. It's crazy, no? Like those decisions were taken from, you know, from so far away, no? And Acapulco, Manila were two of the most important ports in the world for a couple of centuries at least. So a lot of things happened with these stories that we seldom talk about, and we seldom talk about in their own language as well, which is a shame, because we need to do more. We need to I mean, this is crazy. This is the first time that that I see, you know, like a film with this complexity, and that we shoot it in the Philippines and in Spain and Portugal. It is very difficult to make these films in our hemisphere, in our, well, basically not in English, no? And so, I mean, I'm stepping back and forth. I'm sorry, it's going to be very chaotic, my approach, because it is like that. It's very complex, but all of these things kind of gave me a lot of fodder to enter the character and to wonder and to fall into the most beautiful game that filmmaking and fiction is, which is, okay, we know that this happened. There is accounts of how many nails were bought in order to construct the ships. We know how many chickens they got into the ships because everything is logged. We know the testament of Fernando Magallanes, but we don't know how he talked to his wife, and we don't know how that was. So we have to make it up, and we have to play hypothesis, and that's the process of incarnating a character. That's how it happens, and you place some ideas, you know, you put it out there. And what's interesting is that there comes a point where you reach a kind of a nirvana of acting, where you have this, sometimes it's called this ownership of a character, but I would call it more like an incarnation of the character. That you know, from the most frivolous aspect, like what pizza would the character order, and also you would know what are his thoughts before going to sleep. You would know how he prays, you know, what he thinks of, like what's happening. And so it is interesting. It's a bit journalistic, historian, anthropologist, sociologist. It's a big incorporates many aspects of study, you know, to do a character like this. And all of them are things that I really also get me very excited, and they give me a lot of places to grab from in order to play the character. And this is the reason why I wanted to be an actor, really. Yeah.
I just think I've watched the film now 3 times. Yeah, I mean, I really like it. And I was always struck by the way that there's a kind of like distance between us, the viewer, and you, the character, Magellan. Like you're often like veiled in shadows. And then another character says something about shadows, about how you all are like living in the shadow of greed. And there's like, you know, there's not a lot of close-ups. And I wonder, like, when you're on set, and there's also like a broader question about working with Love, because, you know, he's kind of known for giving actors a lot of freedom. There's a lot of improvisation. And I wonder if that's something that you were aware of, like, you know, was he like, the camera's gonna be here, and how that sort of changes your performance, because it is a very physical performance. In a really interesting way, and you know, it's like you're moving in a very different way. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful as an actor to get lost and not know anything, and not even where the camera is. It is great to have that trust as well with the director, no? To be like, okay, just, you know, if the director says, and here is the moment where the mountain comes towards you and you fall down. Why? Who knows, you know, but you trust the guy, you trust the director, because something is going on there. I mean, and once, I think once you start to make films and you have the experience of being able to direct a film, and which I had when I was very young, you know, and immediately I realized, okay, we're all like a Frankenstein, really. I mean, we really don't need to know. In the best of cases, the actors really don't need to know what's going on, because it's great to get lost. It's great to get lost. It's great that sort of imperfection as well. It is very interesting. A lot of things are happening, and this distance that you talk about, it's very curious, because I would say that, you know, with other films, I have a better understanding of the grammar, you know, of the sort of the adjectives that are used, where the underlining is, what you know, I would be able to right now say a lot of things of what we wanted to do, you know, but here I have no idea. Really, I have no idea, because I was everybody was there in their own, lab gives very little direction. We all do the work, no? We all come prepared. In this case, Lav sort of adjusted his way of doing things, because normally he hands you the scene right before doing it. But here I told him, like, man, we have to do it in Portuguese. I need 1 day, at least one day for those big monologues as well, which they were big, huge monologues, no? And so 1 day before, I rehearsed, I practiced, I memorized in the morning, getting there, because also you get only one take most of the time, or two, and so everything is prone to the accident, and it is like that. No, I think it was, who was it? I think it was Aristotle actually who mentioned it, like how the moment of a creation is to be ready for the accident, is to be prepared for the accident. It really is. I really believe that in cinema. Cinema is very vital in that sense. It's you have to be very aware to capture the accident and not to miss it. And the only way that you're not going to miss it is if you're prepared, if you're really, really prepared, if you're concentrated, if you are a little bit, if you know what you're doing. And that's the problem also, that cinema most of the time, in production, and especially on the studios and stuff, you have to say exactly what you want, and it is like a bonus point of like, oh, this person knows exactly what they want. And really, ultimately, even in the films I've directed, the moments where I was surprised, where the accident occurred, where the instinct sort of followed and I went against what I had thought I was going to do, are the ones that survive, are the ones that are there and are always it's the best bits, it's the most alive and interesting and curious. So yeah, with this film in particular, it was for example, lab direction would be so you come in, you sit down, you look at the film, and you see the film. And that would be the direction. And you would, the first day maybe you go like, when do we go in? You would ask a question like, when do we? And his answer would be, whenever you feel like it. So afterwards you stop asking questions. You just know that that's what you have to do, and you play with it, and you go for it. And yeah.
I want you to definitely talk about doing a performance in what I think is 3 languages at least. You do Portuguese, Spanish, French, and I want to try and fold this into something else about the character, right? Because what you understand in the film is that this is like a real concerted effort between these European countries and these Catholic kings, the Catholic leadership, the clergy, and Magellan himself has a very, I think, ambivalent relationship with his faith. Maybe you can obviously challenge me, push back on that. He, I think, possibly conceives of himself as a maybe messianic figure, but he's also willing to kick the French priest off the boat when he doesn't do what he wants him to do. And then later I thought, like, it's not funny, but there's this scene where he's talking to the mother whose child is like really sick, and he does like what is to me like the most Catholic thing ever. He just like gives her a statue, gives her an effigy, the Santo Nino. But really what helps her is that he knows what it is, because these are, they're plague bringers. They know that this is scurvy, and he's like, actually you have to eat this jam this many times a day. But I'm curious about that, that dynamic to you, like how his faith sort of plays a role in the man that he is, and in a way faith or myth making in a sense becomes his undoing.
Yeah, something I found with this film and having the time and the dynamic of working with Lav is that I realized that whenever we talk about these characters, we always talk about them, really, always, we fall into the trap of talking about them in our own understanding of nowadays, like we always think that it was you know, that these people, for example, like something that you mentioned about, like first of all, Europe didn't exist. I mean, it was not Europe. It was no, it wasn't called Europe in a way. It was a different, you know, the Catholic kings had just, Fernando Isabel had just conquered the Iberian Peninsula, and they had expelled the Jewish and the Moors and the Muslim, but or they forced them to convert. And you know, to get into the ship was a way to legitimize that conversion as well. We all come from Jewish and Muslim converts, especially the ones that came to Latin America. Most were Jewish and Muslim converts into Catholicism. There's many examples of that, which I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking about, but like getting on the ship also meant becoming someone. Because in land you were completely insignificant. Life was really horrible back then. It was really horrible, especially in what we call Europe now. It was very poor. It was incredibly poor. It was way poorer than the place they wanted to reach, which was India, China, you know, all the Malay islands where there was already a booming trade. The Islam was already there. There was already a big culture happening. There was already a lot of interactions happening. They wanted to reach this place, and the way to become significant and to become indispensable was to get on a ship, because once you're on a ship, maybe someone here has any maritime experience, right? But on a ship you're completely indispensable. You become a very indispensable figure. In land you're nothing. That's why there were so many kids that went there, that went on the ship. 15-year-old, 14-year-olds that just jumped into the ship because they became someone once they were there. Only 16 people survived this expedition. Only 16 people made it around the world. Elcano, who was the pilot that finally ended up arriving in Spain, was part of the mutiny. Was part of the traitors of Magellan. Was part of and he only became a figure after Magellan dies. You know, and they had to pilot these two ships that were left behind, and it was the Victoria, and I can't remember the other, Trinidad, I think it was the other one, and they were, one of them decided to go back via the Pacific Ocean, and the other one decided to go around India, Africa, but always trying to not find the Portuguese, because the Portuguese were looking for them, because they were trying to stop this expedition happening. Because the whole thing is, and this is very complex and very complicated, so please raise your hand if you're not following, if I'm not explaining well. Because also part of the whole idea was they were suspecting that in the Tratado de Tordesillas, which was the treaty that the Pope, where he divided the hemispheres, one half for Spain and the other for Portugal, they thought that the Spice Islands, Ternate, you know, where Nuez Moscada, Clavo, I don't know, nutmeg, yes, nutmeg and clavo clove came from. They were on the Spanish side. They were claiming that they were gonna prove that they were on the Spanish side, but actually when they got there, they were like, no, actually on the Portuguese side, and we can't tell them, you know. Can't tell them. It's crazy that they knew exactly where they were in the world just by looking at the stars. No, just imagine the technology and the contemplation and the moment, and that gives us another aspect of the cosmovision that they lived, and I mean where they were living. The only adjectives and the only words to express beauty, to express any feeling, was through the words of God, of religion. You read the accounts, and when they are crossing the strait, they say that this is the most beautiful gift that God's ever given them. And this is the maximum of the description that they can do of how alive and, you know, and this is the most poetic expression they can give in order to express their feelings. It's always through God. So after surviving the Pacific Ocean and being received openly, you know, with half of of the crew already dead and some left, during the mutiny. Magellan arrived there, and he was, the expedition was very well received. We know this. They were really well received by the most friendly people on earth, which until now are the most friendly people on earth, which are Filipinos. Are the most wonderful, welcoming people ever. I realized this now that I was there a lot. I mean, it's an incredible place, and people receive you very warmly and very, very giving, because they know they're in what's in front of them. It's only ocean. So whenever somebody comes from there, they go like, oh, thank you, welcome. And we know that when they were talking about God, when they were talking about God to them, because obviously they had this, part of the whole objective in life, growing up in a Catholic place and going in those times, was to convert people. And if you converted people, then you became, and you had a place in the afterlife, you had a place in heaven. And they told them about God, and they were all like, yeah, sounds great, I want to be part of this club, And to their surprise, it was like, I think in a week or 2 weeks, they had already converted a whole island. So you can imagine what messianic hubris they felt all of a sudden. First of all, yeah, the notion of God wanted us here. I mean, He made us survive this. Like, there's a reason why we're here. And that was the thinking, the framework of mind and of feeling, and they knew that they were gonna die during the journey. I mean, it was a very possible thing. There's the testaments that they all wrote, especially Magellan's testament. It's incredible. It's out there. I mean, it's in the internet if you want to check it out. So I'm giving all of these ideas just to say that it is. I cannot judge the character from our perspective. I cannot even maybe talk about the character from our perspective now. I can only sort of fall into that kind of cosmovision and try to understand and try to see what it was and ask the questions maybe and place some hypotheses and ultimately also, kind of understand what would I do in a situation like this? What would I have done back in the day if I was there? I think I would have gone to the ship, actually. I think. I don't know. Who knows?
Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have.
Oh no!
But thank you so much, first of all, for this film and for coming to speak with us.
Oh, thank you so much. I want to say something. No, thank you. I really appreciated that I did this in the intro as well recently. But thank you. I mean, thank you for being here. It is really special that in this world's ecosystem and the ecosystem of cinema that we're living in, that you guys are all here watching a film, this long film in Portuguese, in Spanish, in French, with a Mexican actor. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, and thank you for your very insightful questions and conversation. And thank you to the IFC, where 25 years ago, IFC distributed Y Tu Mamá También. It's super nice. And yesterday night I got a wonderful present from one of my mentors and teachers, and also companion of. I had the opportunity to teach at his school, and this is El Maestro Belatar. So we send him all the love and dedicate this screening to him wherever he may be. Thank you so much.